Never did I think I would share this, yet life has a curious way of leading us into the unforeseen. I go by Grace, and I am 44 years of age. For as long as I can recall, I've navigated the journey of single motherhood, raising my son, Carter, on my own. At 22, he and I have always shared a special bond, facing life's challenges and joys side by side. Yet, on one fateful night, an event unfolded that remains beyond my understanding. Carter had poured himself into his work, burning the midnight oil, and he appeared utterly drained. When he mentioned that he wasn't feeling well, I offered him the option to lie down in my bed to rest. On that brisk evening, the house seemed to embrace an unusual chill, prompting me to drape a thick blanket over him for warmth. Initially, it seemed perfectly ordinary, a mother ensuring her son was at ease. As I sat beside him, Carter inched closer, curling under the blanket as if he were seeking warmth. He enveloped me in his embrace, drawing me near in a manner that took me back to his younger days. Initially, it didn't seem significant to me. I thought he simply required a bit of solace, so I chose to leave it as it was. His warmth enveloped me, his steady breathing creating a rhythm that was oddly comforting. As he settled into relaxation, his breathing gradually slowed, almost as if he were slipping into slumber. The room enveloped us in silence, allowing the sound of my own heartbeat to resonate in the tranquil air. I remained still, reluctant to disrupt his peace, convincing myself that this was merely a mother offering her son the comfort he sought. After a while, Carter adjusted once more, inching nearer beneath the blanket. His arm tightened around me, and I found myself momentarily paralyzed, caught in a web of uncertainty about how to respond. A part of me felt the urge to distance myself, to utter something playful to ease the heaviness in the air. Yet, a different part of me remained motionless. An intangible quality lingered in the atmosphere, a silent tension that eluded my grasp. I found myself ensnared in the moment, grappling with uncertainty about my thoughts and emotions. Then, quite unexpectedly, I sensed something solid beneath the blanket. My heart began to pound. I made an effort to remain composed, reassuring myself that it was insignificant, that he was likely unaware of it too. Yet, as time slipped away, my mind began to swirl in unexpected directions. The warmth between us appeared to intensify, leaving me ensnared in a peculiar blend of emotions: confusion, awkwardness, and a jittery energy that rendered it difficult to catch my breath. Carter remained nearby, his breath calm, yet the silence in the room was thick, weighing heavily upon me. I felt the urge to relocate, to establish a sense of separation. Yet, the phrases to justify my actions eluded me. He then shifted a bit, lifting his head to meet my gaze. His eyes conveyed a look that eluded my understanding, gentle, inquisitive, yet unwavering. It brought me a sense of solace, yet, oddly enough, it also stirred a feeling of discomfort. Though he remained silent, his eyes appeared to inquire whether all was well. I managed a faint smile, wishing it would ease the strain, yet it only amplified the stillness around us. His hand lingered gently on my arm, his fingertips grazing my skin in a distracted manner. It was a mere detail, delicately understated. Yet it was charged with energy, each soft motion igniting a fire within me that I couldn't overlook. I focused on maintaining a calm breath, wishing he wouldn't detect the rapid thumping of my heart. I was at a loss for what to do or how to reply. I reclined in the stillness of the moment, fully immersed in the bond that tied us together. I couldn't put it into words. It lingered in the air, silent yet undeniable. I reassured myself that this was merely a mother offering solace to her son, nothing beyond that. Yet in the stillness, with only the two of us beneath the blanket, my thoughts danced in patterns I couldn't quite grasp. He was my child. Yet as I lay there in such proximity, a deeper sensation washed over me. A bond. I didn't quite grasp it. A blend of uncertainty and comfort enveloped me, rendering it impossible to break free. Carter appeared oblivious to the storm brewing within me. He lingered next to me, his hand gliding gently over my arm as though this intimacy was entirely effortless. His breath came in a calm, rhythmic pattern. Once more, his eyes fluttered shut. For a fleeting instant, I questioned whether he had drifted off into slumber. His hand then shifted, gliding slowly up my arm, sending a shiver coursing through me. He opened his eyes, locking his gaze with mine, and I felt a sudden stillness wash over me. His eyes conveyed an unspoken inquiry, as if he were seeking reassurance about whether I shared the same peculiar attraction he felt. I murmured his name, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. I longed to put an end to this, to establish some space, yet I found myself unable to budge. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, reminiscent of a storm gathering strength in silence. Silence enveloped us and words eluded our lips. The stillness was thick with words left unsaid, with emotions that neither of us could express. Then, as if it were the most ordinary occurrence, he drew nearer. My heart raced, thoughts colliding in a whirlwind, yet I found myself unable to retreat. I found myself in a conflict, balancing my identity as his mother with the strange feelings that arose as his face drew closer to mine. My breath hitched, and all logical thoughts slipped from my mind, leaving just that instant. Carter's hand lay softly on my shoulder, his fingers lingering as if he, too, was caught in a moment of uncertainty. The outside world began to blur, overshadowed by the comforting warmth of his presence and the soothing cadence of his breath. I shut my eyes, seeking to quiet the turmoil swirling within my thoughts. I urged myself to distance, to sever the intimacy that was both suffocating and perplexing. Yet, his fingers gently swept a lock of hair away from my face. It was a tiny, thoughtful act, but it pierced my heart, awakening emotions I couldn't quite articulate. As I opened my eyes, I found his gaze locked onto mine, imbued with a tenderness I had never encountered before. His face was so near that I could discern every detail: the delicate freckles scattered across his nose, the gentle curve of his lips, the way his eyes sought out mine. His expression held a vulnerability that reflected my own, revealing that he was just as adrift in this moment as I was. We lingered in that stillness as if time had come to a halt. Questions swirled in my mind, doubts lingered, and confusion enveloped me, yet my body remained still, unyielding. I found myself captivated by him, this individual I had nurtured. In that instant, he seemed like a completely different person to me. Just when I believed we would stay suspended in that peculiar, delicate bond indefinitely, Carter withdrew a bit, shattering the enchantment. He averted his gaze, a flush creeping across his cheeks, and released a nervous chuckle while running his hand along the back of his neck. The abrupt shift jolted me from my thoughts, and it dawned on me just how near we had come to each other. I inhaled deeply, attempting to calm the torrent of feelings churning within me. "Apologies, Mom," he murmured, his tone laced with hesitation. "I never intended to create an awkward situation." He averted his eyes, his speech faltering, as if he were grappling with the same uncertainty that plagued me. I longed to soothe him, to convey that all was well, yet the words remained trapped in my throat. After so many years, I found myself feeling out of place in the presence of my own son. At last, I extended my hand, gently placing it on his shoulder. I offered him a gentle smile, wishing to dissolve the unease that lingered in the air between us. "It's okay, Carter," I said, my voice calm and even as my heart continued to race. "It's merely..." Indeed, it has been just the two of us for quite a while now. It seems we might both be navigating through a sense of uncertainty. He nodded, a glimmer of relief shining in his eyes. The atmosphere in the room began to lighten, the oppressive silence between us lifting ever so slightly until the doorbell chimed. The unexpected noise startled us, pulling us back to reality with the force of a brisk breeze. I rose swiftly, thankful for the break, my legs trembling as I approached the door, striving to gather my thoughts and soothe the tempest of feelings raging within. Upon opening it, our neighbor, Logan, stood there, his signature easy smile illuminating his features. He had always been the kind of neighbor who was warm and approachable, ready to shovel snow or lend a hand when something needed fixing. Yet this evening, there was an unmistakable quality in the way his gaze held onto me that felt unique. "Hey, Grace," he said with a gentle warmth. "I wanted to check in and see if there's anything you might need as the colder weather sets in. If there's any issue with the heating or anything else, I'm here to lend a hand." His words flowed easily, yet there was a warmth in his tone that enveloped me, bringing a sense of relief that anchored me for the first time in what seemed like hours. "I appreciate it, Logan," I said with a smile. "The house has felt rather cold lately." "I would be grateful for that." As Logan entered, I noticed Carter hanging back in the hallway, his face a mask of inscrutability. He remained silent, yet his gaze upon us infused the atmosphere with an unfamiliar tension. I turned my gaze back to him, and for a fleeting moment, I believed I caught a glimpse of something in his eyes, perhaps jealousy, but it disappeared as swiftly as it had come. The notion disturbed me, making me ponder whether his silence concealed deeper truths he was reluctant to reveal. Logan wandered through the house, inspecting the heater while engaging in conversation with me as he went about his tasks. We engaged in casual conversation about the weather, the neighborhood, and other familiar topics. Yet, the awareness of Carter's presence lingered in my mind, refusing to fade away. He remained silent, lingering close by, his eyes locked onto us. His intensity infused the room with a sharpness, an unvoiced inquiry lingering in the atmosphere. I found myself in a dilemma, balancing the desire to reciprocate Logan's warmth while acutely sensing Carter's gaze, tracking my every action. After a brief moment, Logan faced me, his familiar warm smile lighting up his features. "Everything appears to be in order, Grace. However, should anything arise, please feel free to reach out." "Thank you, Logan," I said with genuine warmth, guiding him to the door. As I shut the door behind him, the silence that enveloped the house seemed to weigh down even more than it had before. As I turned, I found Carter still there, arms crossed, his expression unwaveringly serious. "Carter, are you all right?" I inquired softly, attempting to decipher the thoughts swirling in his mind. He shrugged, his gaze falling to the floor. "Indeed, I'm doing well. I simply didn't anticipate Logan dropping by, that's all." I longed to express more, to extend my hand and close the peculiar distance that lay between us. But just as I gathered my thoughts, he swept by me and retreated to his room. The door shut gently behind him, and I remained there, enveloped in a peculiar blend of relief, confusion, and an elusive emotion, a haunting awareness of something left unresolved. I gazed at his door, my mind a tempest of thoughts. The pain in my chest was elusive, a blend of remorse, yearning, and uncertainties that eluded my grasp. I pivoted and made my way to my room, perching on the edge of the bed. The night's events replayed endlessly in my thoughts, the intimacy Carter and I had experienced, the way his gaze lingered when Logan was present, and the palpable tension that intensified with each fleeting moment. It was something I couldn't evade indefinitely, yet I found myself at a loss for how to confront it. At that moment, a gentle knock at my door interrupted my reverie. My heart raced, filled with curiosity about whether it was Carter. "Come in," I urged, striving to maintain a calm tone. The door swung open, revealing him in the threshold, his expression a puzzle I couldn't decipher. He entered softly, shutting the door with care, and settled next to me on the edge of the bed. For a brief instant, silence enveloped us both. The quiet stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words, a burden we both sensed yet found ourselves unable to release. "Mom," he finally started, his voice soft, barely above a whisper. "I'm uncertain about the situation at hand. I apologize if I created an awkward situation earlier, I simply..." He drifted into silence, his voice wavering as he fixated on his hands, nervously fidgeting. I extended my hand and rested it on his, applying a soft squeeze, wishing to alleviate the strain between us. "Carter, it's all right," I murmured gently. "Perhaps we find ourselves wandering in uncertainty at this moment. For such a long time, it has been just the two of us, and at times that can lead to some confusion." He nodded with deliberation, his eyes remaining locked on his hands. He lifted his gaze to meet mine, his eyes brimming with feelings I struggled to understand. A sense of sorrow, a swirl of uncertainty, and an undercurrent of raw vulnerability. He began, his voice quivering just a bit as though he hesitated to complete the idea. I found myself at a loss for words. My heart throbbed with the same bewilderment, and for an instant, I thought about embracing him, assuring him that all would be well, that we would navigate this together. Yet, I found myself pausing, uncertain whether that would provide clarity or only add to the confusion. In that moment, I chose to remain motionless, allowing the quiet to convey our unspoken thoughts. At last, I inhaled deeply, grounding myself, and met his gaze head-on. "Carter," I suggested softly, "perhaps we should consider taking a step back. Allow ourselves the space to reflect on it all. It's perfectly natural to feel a sense of closeness, yet it's equally valid to require some distance to sort through your thoughts." My voice remained steady, yet within me I sensed I was traversing unknown depths, uncertain if my words were truly right. He nodded once more, this time with a deliberate slowness, and then, unexpectedly, he rested his head on my shoulder. It was a gesture steeped in nostalgia, reminiscent of the times when he was younger and would seek solace from me after a challenging day. The heaviness of his head resting against me stirred a wave of warmth and nostalgia, even as that unvoiced tension simmered just below the surface. Instinctively, I drew him in, my arm encircling him in a manner that was both shielding and tentative. It was a soothing gesture, a reminder of our connection, though it now bore a sharpness I couldn't entirely overlook. After what seemed like an eternity, a gentle wave of tranquility washed over me. Perhaps it's okay that we don't possess all the answers at this moment. Perhaps it was sufficient to simply be here together, navigating each moment as it came, regardless of how intricate the situation appeared. In the stillness of our embrace, I allowed myself to entertain the thought, if only fleetingly, that this intimacy might somehow dissolve the uncertainty that lingered between us. Yet, beneath the surface, I understood it was far more complex. The warmth between us was comforting, indeed, yet it carried an unsettling quality akin to a sensation lurking just beneath the surface, poised to emerge. And even as we remained there, as motionless and silent as the space enveloping us, I sensed that this was not the conclusion of our tale. There were emotions we both sensed, feelings we couldn't articulate just yet, and they would not remain concealed indefinitely. Eventually, Carter raised his gaze to meet mine, his expression solemn. "Mom, I'm really struggling to understand these emotions. I wish to avoid complicating our situation, yet I find it impossible to overlook this matter." His words lingered in the atmosphere, a silent inquiry he hesitated to voice. I gulped, my thoughts swirling as I sought the perfect words to express myself. Just as I was about to speak, another knock echoed through the door. We both leaped, surprised, and exchanged glances, taken aback. The knock resonated with a sense of urgency, as if the person behind the door was acutely aware of the unfolding events. Overcome by a wave of anxiety, I stood up and swung the door open. Logan stood there once more, a look of concern etched on his face. "Grace, I apologize for interrupting you. I simply wanted to see if everything was okay. You appeared somewhat different earlier." I cast a quick look at Carter, who observed us intently, his expression inscrutable. I made an effort to maintain a calm tone as I responded, "Thanks, Logan, but we're okay. Simply enjoying a serene evening." Logan glanced my way before shifting his attention to Carter, his expression contemplative. "Sure thing. Just keep in mind that I'm right next door if you require any assistance." Once he departed, I shut the door and faced Carter, who continued to observe me with that unwavering intensity. He rose to his feet, moving deliberately in my direction, and my heart began to race anew, the atmosphere charged with unspoken words. Yet, just as he drew near, he halted. His expression changed as though he were engaged in an internal struggle. "Perhaps we ought to reconsider this, Mom," he murmured softly, his voice trembling. "Perhaps we require some time." I nodded, my heart heavy with the same tumultuous emotions. "Indeed, Carter, you have a point. We should both reflect on all aspects. We should take our time with this." He nodded as well, and we remained there, near yet wary, as though we were teetering on the brink of something beyond our grasp. It marked an end, yet simultaneously a new dawn, an experience that eluded precise definition. As he turned and made his way to his room, I found myself pondering the possibilities that lay ahead for us. If you enjoyed this story, I'd love for you to show your support by liking, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing for more content like this.